What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Cervantes Podcast. In honor of Women's History Month, joining me today to discuss the importance and necessity of Black women in film, her award-winning senior thesis film, Where the Horizon Lies, creating and editing content for the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication, and her media production company, Book 2 Productions, is Hofstra University alum with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Video, Television, and Film, with a minor in Public Relations, writer, director, and editor, Nerys Muller. How are you doing today, Neryss?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for being here.
Of course, I'm so
Awesome.
happy to be here.
What was your first introduction to film and cinematography?
This is such a great question because I didn't have that, oh, well, I have this family member that's wrapped up in the business. Like my parents are both teachers. My father is a musician as well. So I always had music as a driving force of like my background. And my mom, in addition to being a teacher, she's also into drama and theatrics. So she is the drama club teacher at her school as well. And so I've always helped her. I had a huge theater background and I loved acting out things. I loved telling stories. And so when I was I think I was 12 years old, 10, 11, 12, that sort of age, like right into middle school, my dad had gotten a new camcorder and he decided to give me this chunky old one that had tape. It was like a Sony camcorder. I still have it today. And I would film like my Legos and my dolls and reenact these stories. And then I slowly started building that up into like class projects. So like every class project that I could possibly film, I'd want to do that. And everyone would be like, oh, well, you know, Neryss is like really into this stuff. So I want to join along with her. And then in high school, I really started to take it seriously. In, I want to say junior, senior year, we had to rewrite an act of Hamlet. So I love spaghetti Westerns. My Nana instilled that love of Westerns in me. And we decided to rewrite the good, the bad, and the ugly into the good, the bad, and the Hamlet. So we made it. It's so terrible. Like looking back on it, it's so terrible. It's so terribly done. I would love to remake it one day just to see how far I've come like from that first like major film project of mine. But it was so fun to make. And I actually had not like thought of this as a career until my dad was like, hey, well, like we know that you really want to do theater. For the longest time, I wanted to be a doctor. And then I realized my heart lies in creativity. I'm definitely a creative mind. So my dad had introduced me into the idea of communications. Like he's very, very tech savvy. He's like passed that down to me as well. And we were able to get in on a Fox 29 recording up in Philadelphia. And so we got to talk with the stage manager, talk with the talent. And then I was like, wow, oh my goodness, this is so cool. I could really see myself doing it. And then once I took my first film class at Hofstra as that introductory like medium, I was like, wow, this is the perfect place for me.
That's awesome. So like freshman year of college. Wow, that's so cool. Do you have a favorite movie of all time or maybe a list of your top 5 favorite movies?
This is so hard because like I would definitely have like top 10, but if I have to narrow it to top 5, you're going to notice my list is very like class, like you're talking classic movies.
Okay.
I do love more modern movies as well. You'll see like it's very kind of all over the place.
Okay.
First and foremost, Gone with the Wind. My Nana introduced me to that film. It's one of her favorites. It's one of my mom's favorites. Just everything about that is a period piece. It was one of the first films in color. And
did not know that.
Yes, it was 1938 or 1939. Came out the same year as The Wizard of Oz, I'm pretty sure, which is also on my list. But tying in also The Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind, like you're really seeing movie magic, but in a practical sense. Like there's one shot specifically, it's at the end of the second act, because Gone with the Wind is divided into acts like a play. There's an intermission. It's so beautifully done. Where the lead character, Scarlett, after having this very rough life, she lost a child, she lost her lover, she goes back to the farm that she was raised at, and the sun's setting and it looks fiery red and orange, and it's the silhouette of her against this background, and that's how it ends. And it's so beautiful. Like I'll probably start tearing up talking about it. Wow. But I remember like I watched that when I was younger and I was like, oh my goodness, like it's just so beautiful. And then later in line with The Wizard of Oz, next on my list, that introduced me again to movie magic. Like the Twister I thought was the realest thing. For the longest his time. And I was like, oh my goodness. And that was the thing too, I find so funny, is they kept up with that gimmick. They're like, oh yeah, it was a real twister. It was a real twister. And then recently, I say recently, but like probably like 20, 30 years ago, that's when they were like, yeah, we just drew it. It was like a cartoon pencil drawing. And it was so insane. But you see again, like the transfer from like the sepia tone to color, and Dorothy Gale from Kansas, everything, all of the costumes, like all of the practical magic with the Wicked Witch of the North, the Wicked Witch of the East, the Wicked Witch of the West,
the music.
The music, it was just like it's so theatrical. I'm starting to realize there's a little bit of a pattern with my
there's
favorite
theater
ones.
in
There's
all,
theater
yes.
in all of them.
It's a running thing.
Then pulling in a completely different direction,
okay,
which is still theatrical in a sense. I love Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
You know, I've never seen it.
Really? Oh my goodness. I highly recommend. It is a ride. Like, it is like, you feel like you're on a roller coaster going up and down, spinning around constantly.
Oh my God. Okay. Because I saw Juno, and I think he's in that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Michael Cera and his awkward roles, but he's like, it's
iconic.
It's so like, it's such a crazy film. And again, something that I also love, one of my other loves aside from music and theater, is video games. I love video games. Okay. I'm a classic Nintendo fan all of the way.
Yes.
I read the graphic novels when they came out, and then also played the game of Scott Pilgrim. And then I remember I went to go see it with my mom at a drive-in theater, and we were just obsessed with it because like she read them with me, she'd play the games with me, and it was just the coolest thing. And I honestly think that is one of the, if not the most successful video game movie. I know they try to turn lots of video games into it, but that just captures the whole feel of the video game without being so in your face, like, oh, we're gonna do this in 8-bit. So
okay,
yeah. Then we're gonna take a whole, like, not even just a 180, but like a 360. Dead Poets Society. Dead Poets Society is number 4.
I saw it a long time ago. I need to rewatch it.
It's so good. It's so good. I mean, I adore Robin Williams. He is my favorite actor of all time. And I remember my introduction, I had watched that in a class, I think one of my high school English classes, if I'm not mistaken. And oh, look, theater's in it too, because it's like a Midsummer Night's Dream. But
yes, oh my God.
Like, but I just, it taught me so much. Like, I feel like that, as well as like my mom and my dad, who's introduced me into like classic poetry and classic literature, that really instilled a love for poetry and a love for the written word, for prose. And it just, the whole idea of that movie is, again, you are being confident in yourself, you're finding your tribe. And it's something that I really, really liked, because it wasn't like the boys at the boarding school didn't have the biggest group of people that wanted to do this weird poetry thing with them, but it was enough. And the movie, it's beautiful, it's funny, it's sad, it's witty, it's tragic, and it's also daring. And that's what I love so much about it. And keeping in line with the Robin Williams, my 5th one would be Jumanji. I love Jumanji, like the original Jumanji. The new ones are good too, but the classic Jumanji, I feel like that speaks for itself. It's such a great film.
So good, so good. And I always think about, like, this is a good question for you. How do you feel about reboots? Because I'm always nervous, like, oh my God, like, this film is a classic. It means so much to us, you know, especially if it comes around maybe a year that we were born.
Yeah.
When they're remaking it, I always get nervous. Like, what if they ruin it? Like, how are they gonna remake this? You know, so how do you feel about reboots?
I feel like if you're not copying it beat for beat, it can be done well. And the perfect example in that are the new Jumanji movies. Like, they did not try to match board game coming out, or even with Zathura that came out. Like, yes, it was a board game, but it was in space and it was this whole new story.
Yes.
Like, that was so amazing. With the new Jumanji, like, they're tying it into a video game. It still has the same essence. Everyone shouts Jumanji like they did at the end of 2020, and they carry on their merry way, and they're able to leave that world. So I think, like, if you're not necessarily copying something word for word, beat for beat, storyline for storyline, maybe even character for character, but rather paying homage to the source material, that's when a reboot's going to be successful.
Okay.
Another example, the Spider-Man movies. I love Marvel so much.
Yes.
And I love like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. I also love Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, who they need to give another movie, by the way.
Yes, he only has 2.
Yes. I feel like after this new one, which I still haven't seen yet, I know I'm like terrible.
You would like it.
I'm so like, I got it spoiled for me on Instagram Reels. I was scrolling and then I saw the scene.
It's always Twitter for me. It's always Twitter.
Oh, not Twitter. But yeah, like they're telling it in their own way. Like, yeah, it's the same story, but again, you're paying homage to the source material, in this case, the comic books, but you're adding your own little twist to it. And you're making it something that each generation can adapt to. Like previous Jumanji, 1990s board games. Now you're in a new digital age. So now like you're tying in a classic video game into a more modern society. Like, oh, we found this broken down Nintendo 64 like thing, and now we're getting sucked into it. So again, as long as you're paying homage to that source material and not copying it, I think that reboots can actually be very, very awesome.
And so Neryss has created and edited content for the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication at Hofstra University's Instagram page, specifically their IGTV series, The Herbert Rundown, where every Monday, various communication students tell the Hofstra community all about the upcoming on-campus events during that week. How long have you been creating and editing content for the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication, and how has it been?
I started creating content when I was a junior at Hofstra during my undergraduate time. And David Henney he heard about me. Like it was word of mouth. David Henney, the content director and marketing strategist. So he heard about me and he was like, oh, I'm going to snatch her up. Because at the time I had just become the president of the Hofstra Filmmakers Club. I was producing one of the Heat Show's Director's Cut, the film entertainment talk show. I was in Zeta Phi Eta, and I was making content for them. I was their recruitment chair for 2 consecutive semesters. So I was making a lot of content and a lot of things were coming out of me in general. And so he was like, oh, let's see if we can use that for a brand strategy type of thing. And I had never thought like, oh, promotions, not me. But then I really started to like it, which is part of the reason why I picked up my public relations minor, and I'm now pursuing my master's degree online at Hofstra and doing this content.
Wow.
So, I had if you've heard of the amazing Rebecca Chiafulo, I was her before she came to Hofstra. So so I was
film girl.
Yes, the film girl. Yes. So I was filming lots of content. We had actually started off as like let's test the waters with this. We did a caroling video around Christmas time, and so it was myself. It was Joe Ritter, I believe. Luke Becker was a part of it. Justin Moore. Daniela Ruiz. We all went around the entire communications school dressed in like garb from like the Hofstra's bookstore, like with tags on it still that David Henney grabbed for us. And we're caroling to everyone, and everyone really liked that video. So we decided, oh, well, what if we start adding like this super fun, more modern twist? Because a lot of what was coming out of Hofstra at that time was very like straightforward. This is what we have to offer. But we were like, no, like we're communication school. Let's kind of add a fun twist to it. And David Henney, like, it's so cool. We've built up this rapport and this trust that he just sends me stuff and he just trusts me completely. So this past year, he actually himself, both him and then Dean Adria Marlowe, basically created the position I have now, like the graduate assistantship, so that I could keep working for them. Because I'm not on campus, I am post-producing remotely, but I know that this upcoming month or in April, we're in the process of creating a master's promotional video for the public relations major. So they're going to have me come up there, and then I'll be carrying around this giant sucker right here.
Awesome.
I'll be carrying around the new camera rig, and then we're going to grab some footage. But for the time being, I revamped the Hofstra Now series because David Henney was like, I need a little bit of a twist to this. I want to make this more fun. That did really, really well. But then we wanted to make a show that was just for the Herbert School. So now we're producing the Herbert Rundown. He, along with senior film writing student, Mark Heron. They're directing the shows each week. They send it over to me. I post-produce it, and I have free reign. So I can just like, I came up with the whole template myself. I was like, oh, let's make this super, super fun. Let's make this very like, have like that little bit of a vintage twist, because everyone is really getting into the idea of like film photography. So I'm adding little bits of grain. We have film burns, film overlays, and that sort of VHS type playback theme to it.
Yes, I've noticed all of that. Yes.
Yeah. So we're trying to like keep it like a consistent branding. And then we're also in the process of, I have my hard drive like right now. I'm
just
editing,
for the Herbert rundown.
Just like, I have all of my like graduate assistant stuff on this like hard drive. And so we're in the process of doing Herbert rundown. I'm finishing up this week's episode. And then also we're producing a new series called A Day in a Life, where we're taking lots of the Herbert takeovers and we're putting them down into their own condensed little thing. So
you're going to use them.
Yes.
Awesome. Because I love those too.
Yeah.
I love those too. No, I love it. I definitely noticed a difference between because Hofstra now definitely caught my attention last semester. And I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like a twist. It's more specific. The editing is like much better. And I'm like, who is Nerys Muller? Like I recognize everyone else's Instagram handle, but who is this? And went on your page, I'm like, oh my God, we have a lot of mutuals. So it's awesome. I love to see it. Yes, it's so good. And what would you say has maybe been your favorite project, Heat Network related, Herbert School related, that you've done so far?
Ooh, this is so hard because I would say my senior thesis, but if I'm doing like extracurricular activity, so I love Director's Cut. That is my love. I have been in that show for 3 years. I started as a sophomore and was able to finish out my senior year. And then I just love it. I love that show. So everything Director's Cut. But also, I would say when I was picked to executive produce alongside Adam Flash, we co-executive produced the Hofstra Votes Live Charting the 2020 Election Sunday show.
Wow.
Yes. So that like hour-long Sunday show with Jermaine Howerton, Eric Bellier, Katerina Balales, like we were able to work alongside like really awesome collaborators like Dr. Peter Gershon, Dean Marlowe, Dean Lukashevitz, Julia Wachtel, Courtney Adama. And it was super, super fun because we had like full control over this group of like 120 crew members who were running in and out of the studio. We got to pick our crew, and like I learned a lot more about the radio side because that's where my co-producer Adam was versed in, and he learned so much.
WRHU was a part of it.
Yeah. And so we really got to like interpolate and mix our two worlds together doing that broadcast. And we won a 2021 Folio Award for Best New Special Broadcast for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Like that production, like we were so lucky it went off without a hitch. It was so cool. And it was just like, I don't know, it was different because I'm normally I'm very into fiction. I'm very into like entertainment news. And so this time I got to do politics but like not politics in a way where let's make it super, super specific for this one group, because we had to take a very, very unbiased approach. So they're talking about the different stances, the different ideologies that each party was contributing to that election leading up to our large Tuesday night broadcast. So it was really, really fun.
I heard that it was insane. I remember, and I wanted to be a part of it. I think I missed the deadline. But it was amazing. I remember Victoria was my TA, Victoria Odell.
Yes, I love her. I love her so much.
Yes, she's amazing. I remember she was like, it's crazy, but I love it. And I'm like, that's awesome, because it's like, even if there is chaos within a production, because there always is. The fact that we still love it and we still have a passion for it, and it doesn't stress us out too much, hopefully. I think that shows that, we really do have a passion. We really do love this, the work that we do. And it's not work, it's like fun. We get to do this. At least that's how I see it. So
I absolutely agree. Like it's definitely like the chaos is kind of what drives it. Like, there's going to be chaos, but that's part of the profession. You're adapting to all of these different scenarios, and then you're also introducing COVID into the mix too. And at the time that we were doing all of this stuff, so now it's like, okay, well, we have to make sure everyone's social distance, everyone has either been tested beforehand, and even like outside production. So it's the stuff that you really have to love what you do, and I'm very, very fortunate to also love what I do. So
Out of all your projects and films, which one is your favorite so far?
So obviously my senior thesis.
Yes,
That
yes.
my senior thesis, that was I had started writing it oddly enough before the pandemic. My senior thesis, it's about this virus that wreaks havoc on society, but it's not even so much about the virus, but rather the introspective nature of the piece. It's more or less kind of reflective about my struggles as a biracial woman in society, and really like you're getting those pulls from different ends. It's not a self-insert, I promise, but it's definitely like it's almost like an evaluation on society. So you have these two characters, they're a mixed race sibling duo. You have Keelan, who's Black, and Lars, who is white. They're half siblings, and they're kind of surviving in this apocalypse together, and he almost gets seduced to the dark side, you could say, if you're a Star Wars fan. They're not trying to turn him into a Sith, but they meet this woman who appears to be making everything better for them. She's offering them safe haven, and it turns out she's actually one of these creatures. So
It's kind of
yeah,
like Hansel and Gretel almost a little bit.
yes,
Okay.
yes. And but the virus itself too, it's not just like, oh, zombies, even though I love zombies, but it's what's making the virus come to fruition is that internal prejudice, that internalized hatred, that racism. So you're seeing all of these zombies, and they're white people. And so they're like,
Okay.
once that seed is planted, they slowly start to change. And it's just like any ounce of hatred, like even if you think that thought, anything, that thing in the back of your head, that's that seed that starts to morph. It plants itself and it starts to grow throughout your brain. And then it turns you into these creatures. And the crazy part about my senior thesis too was I kind of based it off of Indigenous lore, where the idea of you looking into a mirror and seeing your true self, that falls in line with this too, because you don't know who's infected. It's the same thing in real life. You can be walking by someone, and you could be walking by the most racist person on the planet, and you don't even know because they just look normal. But
Yeah.
in this case, like you have these creatures look in a mirror, and my two characters, they're even carrying around mirror shards with them, to be able to see, like, okay, let's angle it, can we see? But they decide, or the older brother is too trusting, that he kind of just completely pushes by the mirror thing until it's too late.
Wow.
And until she has seduced him to that side, has given him the virus.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And it's like, it's talking about such a relevant topic,
Mm-hmm.
not, not like a sit down conversation in your face, but it's kind of like subliminal,
Yes, yes,
and racism
absolutely.
is a virus,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so fitting because we're in a pandemic, and then there was like a racial pandemic at one point,
Yes,
June
that was
2020.
yeah, that was the craziest thing too. I had some friends tell me I was psychic because I had written my script, or the first draft of my script, in January of 2020. So before the
Wow.
pandemic, before everything, the protests were happening in June. And
Months before.
yes, and I took not inspiration, because it's terrible to say you take inspiration, but I definitely used that as like ways to fuel my material, to make it more realistic. Like some of like
Right.
what's being said, like a lot of people who've watched my senior thesis film have said they had to go back and watch it a second time to really like understand, because at first you watch it and at surface level you think, oh yeah, this is just a zombie movie. But if you are the target audience, if you are a person of color, you're hearing these microaggressions. You're hearing like the sort of patronizing aspect of my antagonist, Delilah, that's her name, and
Okay.
everything she's saying to this lead, Keelan. And it's just, it's really starting to like, I don't know, it festers in your brain. You're like, oh my goodness, I understand what you're saying now.
I didn't
Like, oh
realize
wait,
that.
that was a microaggression. So
Yes,
all of
it's
those
kind of
different
like
things.
the way your film is, I haven't watched it, but the way your film is seems to be kind of like Get Out, where
Yes.
black people saw that movie one way, white people saw that movie a different way,
Yep.
and then they had to watch it one more time and then one more
Yeah.
time to really get what was happening. Because it's not just a random horror movie. I think Jordan Peele and filmmakers like yourself always make films and content with a purpose and a
Yes.
message, and it may not be in your face. It may be a character or maybe a song, the music that's chosen on the soundtrack. So I love, like, very intentional about your work. And I hope more people in this new day and age where everybody wants, instant gratification and, Marvel movies and that's it. It's like, no, let's have some films that do have some substance and do have a message to portray, for sure.
Absolutely. I think like if it films don't just tell stories, they're telling the livelihoods of people, whether or not that's on an exaggerated level or on something that's more true to life. So it's definitely, I love watching films back a second time, catching what I missed. The same thing with my TV shows. Like I love Euphoria and I'm currently watching back season 2 and I'm catching all of these things in a different context than before. And like you were saying with my film, everything was very, very intentional on my end, and hearing people after that second watch say, oh my goodness, I didn't realize this, or hey, like, I noticed this, did you mean to do this? Even my mom like watching it 4 or 5 times, or my dad watching it like 5 or 6, are like, hey, I'm catching these different things. And that's something that I've had a difficulty with when entering the festival sort of run. We have been very fortunate to win awards and then to also place like different things, but there is this one festival that I'm not going to go into too much detail because I am not expose, but it was I had submitted because I wanted feedback, and I love constructive criticism. Tell me what I can do better. I want to grow as a filmmaker. I want to grow as a content creator. I want to grow as a writer and director.
Right.
And they just didn't get it. And it was just like, the way they were writing about my actors was horrendous in their critique. It wasn't even so much a critique. It felt like, I'm just going to take this time to blaspheme everything in your film. And at first I let that get to me, and I look back, and if like I tell myself at that time, like, don't, like, it doesn't matter because it's not for them. And I remember having that conversation with my parents, having that conversation with my producers, with some of my crew members who were on there, who were with me the entire process of writing it to its completion, that it doesn't matter. It's not for everyone. Get Out was not for everyone. Us was not for everyone. And I'm sure his newest one that's coming up, like it's not
might go over people's heads again.
Yes, absolutely 100%. And I had gotten down because I was like, oh, this film festival, it's super respected, and they have all of this really harsh feedback, and it wasn't even anything to tell me what can I do better. It was, oh, your writing is terrible, I don't understand the characters, this is a stupid zombie movie. That was a quote from it. And it was just ridiculous. But at the end of the day, that taught me a lesson in and of itself, that sometimes what you make, it's not for everyone. Sometimes it's just for you. Sometimes you may be making it for a particular audience, and those are the people that will get it. The people that will get it will understand it.
Yes, I love that. Like we're in an industry where it's like not everything is black and white, and not everything is like this is good and this is bad. It's kind of like, some people are going to love this movie and it's going to win all the awards, but then even though there's going to still be people that don't like it, even though it won Best Picture or Best Screenplay, and that's very disgusting and very harsh for someone to, be so harsh with the acting and your writing and directing. And I feel like, let's have some grace for people who are in college, like, you're a student. Just a little bit. You don't have to like love everything that students do and patronize us, but have a little bit of compassion. You're just getting started. You have much more to go. You're not Ava DuVernay yet. You will get there. And like you said, not everyone's gonna like it. That's the entertainment industry. That's the field that we're in. But I feel like I think some people always say it, but like as long as you like it and you feel good about it, I think that's what really matters. Because then
you sound like my mom right now.
Oh my God.
No, but serious, like you're so right. It's as long as you care about it, as long as it's up to your expectations, that's all that matters in the world. And that whole interaction with that film festival, that kind of taught me, like, I'm confident in this work. It may not be for you. You may not understand it, but okay, it's not for you. I made this for me, and I made this for all of the people that have my shared experiences.
Right, exactly. And some people don't like things because it offends them because it's like true.
Yep.
You know?
Yes.
Like if the shoe fits, that kind of thing. Yeah, I think that too. So it's very fitting that this festival, I can only presume, is predominantly white. You know, I don't think BET would tear you down, or, you know, whatever Black film festival there are, like,
Yeah.
I don't think they would tear you down like that. So very, very fitting, very interesting. So Neryss is also the founder and CEO of her own media production company, Book2 Productions, which she founded in early 2021. Based in New Jersey, Book2 specializes in photography, videography, and other forms of creative content. Book2 has produced wedding films, corporate promotional highlight reels, portrait photography, and so much more. What is it like running your own media production company, and have you produced any independent films with Book2 yet?
When it comes to running a production company at the ripe age of 22 years old, it's really hard, but it's also the most rewarding experience. I knew when I really fell in love with film, I wanted to create an outlet or a medium for other creatives like myself, for either LGBTQ plus creatives, for Black creatives, BIPOC, AAPI, almost like a safe haven where they can create and feel free to create. And in the process of like starting to build that up, like it's really, really cool. You get to see like all these different things. I started off in weddings from a professor who, as we talked about earlier, Victoria Odell, she actually set me up with this wedding gig. And it
Wow,
was a professor
okay.
at Hofstra who I now am going to have in my MAPR program. So it's all coming around like full circle. It's
Insane.
really cool. But I had filmed her wedding, and then from there, it just started skyrocketing. And something that I found a lot in my company is I'm filming a lot of LGBTQ plus weddings. And it's so great because
Wow.
I'm hearing their stories. Like, not only am I bringing like able to bring their wedding stories to life, because when I make my wedding films with my company, it's not just, you're not just getting a video, you're getting a story, a narrative story that's 10 to 12 minutes long. Like, it's telling the story of the wedding day from start to finish, from getting ready in the morning to putting on that dress to that first look, if you have it, to walking down the aisle, the first dances. It's so beautiful.
Yes.
And I'm learning from a lot of these couples that I'm shooting. A lot of the brides that I've worked with have said, yeah, no one would film us because we're two brides. And that breaks my heart. It's so terrible. I don't know why you would, like, I understand people have their views, but it's love is love. Let love be.
It's
That's what I gotta say
2022.
there. It's
It's 20.
2022. Like, come
Like,
on.
that's
um,
insane.
but it's just like, it's so like that has been able to like open up my like just doors for my company, like for more collaboration. And it's been really cool. Like, I incorporated last year, so I officially got like that S Corp LLC attachment to it, which was really cool. I
Awesome.
gotta do
Awesome.
taxes.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah. It's a
it's
business, so now you gotta.
business.
Yes.
But it's so worth it. And I know my dad, he keeps like elbowing me, and he's like, I'm gonna retire soon, so you should hire me. And I really want to. I would love to hire him. Like,
That would be awesome.
he's helped me in terms of like consultation stuff. Like, I'm calling you off of my computer that I paid for with my hard-earned money.
Yes,
That
yes, as
costs
you
way
should.
too much, but like he's definitely like I said, he's super tech savvy. He's great in terms of consultations and just in general. Like, he's an audio guy, he's a music guy. So when it comes to sort of building up my knowledge of that, he's been helping me with that a lot too. And I'm super grateful. And then him and my mom too, they ran craft services and for my senior thesis film, and everyone loved it. And so something that I want to build up to doing is potentially offering craft services or catering services for films through my company. Like, we have a Jet Row card, which is a restaurant depot in Philly, so we can get those bulk things if we need them to.
Yes. Oh my God.
But I want to offer so much through it. So yeah, I've been doing lots of highlight reels. I just recently, because I'm also working part-time as a substitute teacher. Well, I say part-time, it's full-time, but one of my 5 jobs, because yes, I have 5 jobs and it's insane right
Wow.
now.
Okay.
I do have time to breathe. See, I just remembered. But yeah, one of my jobs is working as a substitute teacher at one of the schools in my hometown's district. So
Okay.
something I did there is they did this huge celebration on Black History Month. So I ran
Yes.
around with my camera rig and I'm running around with my Ronin and I'm getting like all the shots of
Yes.
people coming in for African-American read-in, for when we had a museum visit or a museum exhibit visit and the kids were explaining civil rights in South Jersey. So I had just finished putting that together through my company, which is really cool. I
So cool.
filmed my father's virtual concert because he's a band director at one of our middle schools. So I filmed his virtual concert and we did this
Wow.
whole production for the middle school band and the middle school choir, which was really, really cool. And the kids loved it. The students loved it. Also,
It's the talent for me.
oh
It's
my
the...
stop. I had
Yes.
the through my company too, I offer like editing and videography services. So this summer, which I'm still like awestrucken by, I had the opportunity to work with the Broadway cast of Aladdin in filming a video for Broadway Cares. It's not out yet, so I'm not going to talk about the specifics.
Right.
But it's a music video that it's sort of
Wow.
highlighting like the importance of mental health and building people up rather than tearing them down. And then through that, I started working for Aaron Accurso and Rachel Accurso for Songs for Littles, the children's show on YouTube. So I'm editing for them through my company too, and it's been really, really fun.
That is amazing.
Thank
That
you,
is
thank
amazing.
you.
It's so like multifaceted, like all the projects that you're doing in and outside of the production company. That's so cool. Is it difficult juggling different types of projects by yourself, or do you have a team?
It's
Yeah.
I do hire freelancers. I do hire freelancers to help me out, particularly with weddings. I like to have 2 shooters a day for those because it's 8 hours. The more footage I have, the more content I can create when putting together my video packages to send off to my clients once they're finished. Yeah, I hire freelancers because I'm like starting to pull in more money now. It's just me editing. I want to hire more people to edit for me, and then slowly, if they're interested, work them into like a permalancer position for my business as well. Because we have that employee identification number, and I feel so like legit now. It's so crazy. But yeah, definitely like it's not. No, it's definitely difficult. And it's hard, but it's fun.
Okay.
It's definitely fun. And so like you were talking about with like all these different directions, managing all these different projects, like I wanted, like we're a multimedia company. So we're not just providing you with video services, we're providing you with video service solutions. So like we're open to consultations. If people want to get interested in streaming, we can set that up for you. We can also, if you're looking to bring your own content to the next level, we're also available for that too. And just making sure that this company can reach like all the different aspects of being multimedia. And then again, providing those services to people, particularly that wouldn't have access to them in the first place. And that comes to, I think that when you were talking about have I branched out into any independent films with it, I'm working on one right now. I've just been so busy, it's hard to like dedicate like given time to start filming, but it's an introspective, reflective piece about being a woman of color and understanding the temptations and drawbacks to being so emotional and wearing your heart on your sleeve and feeling everything. Like that's something that I struggle with. I wear my heart on my sleeve. My emotions are everything. I can hide it very, very well on certain days, but when I get burnt out, that's when it comes to fruition. So I had written this script called Mariposa about being that free floating butterfly, feeling when you're in your happy place, everything is great and beautiful, but then you have this stark contrast to some of the more like realistic things in life as opposed to like idealism and surrealism. So I'm in the process of getting that ready to go. I have my lead actress. It's very artsy. So we're looking for like some sort of artsy feel. And I have my lead actress casted and we're looking to shoot or over the course of a weekend, because it's going to be another short film, but shoot either at the end of March or the beginning of April.
That's awesome. And then with your films, with the Where the Horizon Lies and this film that you're working on currently, where can people watch this? Do you have this available where people can stream it?
I don't have it available for stream currently.
Okay.
Mariposa is probably going to be on my YouTube channel, if not my Vimeo page.
Okay.
Once that comes to fruition, Where the Horizon Lies, it's still on its festival tour, so I can't like put it out there yet.
Okay.
But I do have trailers are available on my YouTube channel. You could just search up
Yes.
my name and it's right there.
Yes, yes.
So I have that, and then I can also, if people are really interested in watching it, I send out Google Drive links because I have it like
Ooh.
uploaded just to
Okay.
have it. So I'll definitely send you one because I feel like you really, really enjoy my senior thesis.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, so
That's awesome.
I'll have them on Vimeo later, probably once Where the Horizon Lies is done. I'll put it on Vimeo with like a password protector thing, but it'll be
Okay.
available on Vimeo. And I'm in the process of also trying to see if I could get Where the Horizon Lies on they have some small Black-owned streaming services that I'm looking into, so I'm trying to
Oh,
see if I can like push it forward to be on one of
got it.
those. Yeah.
Your award-winning senior thesis film, Where the Horizon Lies, is about a naive brother and his apprehensive sister who are faced with the trials and tribulations of blind trust and morality as they search for a safe haven amidst a virus that seeks to eradicate them. What challenges did you face while creating this film, and what are some lessons, if any, that you learned about the filmmaking process?
Ooh.
I know there's some. I know there's some.
What do people go tee hee hee? Um, anyone that tells you that making a film is easy, anyone that tells you that, they are lying to you through their teeth. The
For
creative
sure.
process can be easy for some people, but getting to production specifically during COVID can be very difficult. I was the first person out of 20 films in my senior thesis class to film. We came back for spring semester. We were there for like 4 days, and then we left to head to our location in New Jersey to film. We actually filmed at my old Girl Scout camp because it had like the
Wow,
cabin that
yes.
I was imagining. It was really funny. So you know how sometimes we say, oh, let's manifest these things, like let's
Yes.
manifest things that are happening. Well, I had this very, very vivid dream that it was snowing in the opening
Okay.
sequence of my film, but like, I mean, blizzard.
Okay.
And the higher powers that be, God decided to give me that and then some. So the last day of filming, we were stuck in a blizzard and we filmed in that blizzard.
Because the show must go on.
The show must go on, but I'll get into the blizzard part later. Let's talk about the U-Haul. So in COVID times, you couldn't rent a U-Haul truck for more than like 48 hours. So God bless my producers, Stefan Hatchett and Carter Gilda-Rubio, who I probably would not have survived like this whole thing. They were keeping me grounded the whole time.
Yes.
They're both amazing people to work with. Like I asked them to be my producers like before I even like was officially in the class. Like I was like, you guys are going to be my producers, are you interested? And they were like, absolutely, let's see the script. And they helped me with the
I
script
love
too. We were
that.
looking over, they were telling me what works, what doesn't work. And then when I got that final draft to them, they're like, yes, this is it. They helped me cast. They
Yes.
are so amazing and I would love to work with them again. I just know everyone's super, super busy right now.
Yeah.
But we had this issue with the U-Haul. So a lot of what was happening was poor Stefan, he would drive the equipment down and then he'd have to drive back up and then grab his car, drive back down, like between days. We were filming for 4 days in total and it was back and forth with the U-Haul.
Because of the
And
48-hour rule.
because the 48-hour thing, it was so ridiculous and I felt so bad. And then he had put some of his own money into it. And then because we had a budget of $6,000 about.
Okay.
And it was a lot of my own money, but we were able to, oh, my dad just sneezed, bless you. And so we had to, a big part of that budget was because of COVID. So we had to make sure we had all of these things ready to go. We were getting some packages from the Hofstra equipment room, which we're super, super grateful for,
Oh,
who would
wow.
provide us with some gloves, some masks, but a lot of other things too. We had to gather ourselves. And just because I'm super, super precautious about that stuff and I wanted to remain alert, not anxious, I wanted to make sure we had everything possible. All of our actors were quarantined 2 weeks beforehand beforehand had to turn in a negative test. Everyone on the crew turned in a negative test, and we were all kind of isolated on set for those 4 days. So no one was really going anywhere
like a bubble almost.
Yeah. No one was going anywhere except for my parents, but my parents, again, were just coming straight back home here and then driving back up there for food and stuff. And they were preparing food in the kitchen. Like, when I tell you it's the best craft services I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
And like, it was like, we had hot meals, we had cold meals, we had hot chocolate on set, like ready. My dad brought tons of hot hand warmers, which we ended up needing for that blizzard day.
Oh my God. That's amazing. Shout out to Mr. and Miss Muller.
Yes, the most amazing awesome. Parents in the world. I love them so much. And if I told them that, they'd be like, but that's just how we are. But yeah, no, they definitely helped make the process easier. That was their donation for my film, was doing craft services. And so my mom got them little matching outfits, and they had little hats, and they looked so cute.
Oh my God, I love that. It's like a family. It's like a family. That's how it should be.
Yes, it was definitely, it was like a family affair, and it was so awesome. Like, everyone on my crew too, like I handpicked them with my producers. Like, I had handpicked a list, and then I told my producers, I said, you pick who you want on this list. Because I trust them 1000%. I think the only people that I had like solidified for my choices was my assistant director, who was Emily Bradbury, and then my director of photography, who was Justin Moore. Just because I know they work very, very well with me.
And like, you have that rapport.
You have that rapport, and it's one of my actors, Spencer Stevie, who played Lars, my male lead. He said something that he thought was really cool, but really funny. He's like, I love how you and Justin work together, because you guys just look at each other and he knows. And that could be because we've been dating for 4 years, or it also could be because we have worked together on a lot of these projects, and like, it's full professionalism. Like, if I need to take him aside and say, hey, you need to work on this better, we'll understand. We're not going to take it personally. That's the one thing too. A lot of people say don't work with your significant other or your partner, but he and I do work very, very well together, which is such a blessing. Yeah. So aside from the big blizzard, the blizzard that happened that Sunday,
who would have saw that coming?
The Lord up top, like, listen, you asked for it, so I'm gonna give it to you. We had to send home half of our crew because a lot of people didn't necessarily feel comfortable driving through it. And like, internally, I was freaking out, but outside I was like, okay, yep, okay, do what you need to do.
Keep that composure.
Like, yep. And then inside I'm like, but you understand, you got to keep that composure. So we had to skeleton crew it. And so we had my car running constantly for my actors to get into between takes. God bless one of my extras, Juliana Battaglia, who played this zombie-like creature at the beginning of the film, one of the infected. I had this vision that she was just in like this bloodied frock, and she committed and was like, I'm just in this bloody frock and I'm going to be barefoot. And she, like, in the snow. And so we had coats, we had everything ready for her. She would hop immediately into my car. We had hot chocolate for her. And I gotta say, that was definitely like, all of our days were extremely productive and extremely fun on set. But that day we were so efficient because everyone was like, it's cold, let's move on. It's cold, let's move on. And we were even able to redo some of the scenes because continuity with snow. So we had the snow falling in this opening scene, and then we had the difficulty because the first half of that scene was filmed on a day where it was cloudy but not snowing completely. There was still some snow on the ground, so we ended up using a giant pizza box that my assistant director lifted off of the actors to make it look like the snow was falling into frame. So that was like it was like random idea. We're like, oh, like, let's just do it with the box, and it worked so well. And then we had to do that like in between scene, so they are covered in snow, that it's snowing in the background again, because I'm a very big stickler for continuity. Everything has to match. And then God bless Madison Spence Moore, who was my script supervisor and continuity supervisor, who was checking at every little thing. She was like, oh, nope, you need to do this. This needs to be on the left side. She took pictures of everything. She was amazing. So fantastic. So we reshot that. And then my car got stuck in the snow.
Oh my God.
And we were
Wow.
trying to contact the camp supervisor, who literally he plowed like the whole area once we got there, because when we got to the camp none of the roads were plowed, so he plowed everything for us really quick, which was so great. But we weren't getting reception because the blizzard was so bad, so we had to hand dig my car out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we're hand digging, like it's it gets worse. It gets worse. We're hand digging my car out. Everyone heads back to the cabin. I finally get my car out. We're getting ready to head back and drive everyone. I'm driving my actors. We eat dinner, lunch real quick, have lots of hot water, lots of hot chocolate, lots of warm food. Everyone was drying off. Everyone, like, it was this big kumbaya at the end, which was super, super fun as well. We had packed up at the Airbnb we were staying at, and then now we're on the ride home. So as we know, in New York, potholes are the worst thing in the world, and what's even worse are sinkholes. So I dropped off one of my actresses, and then I had my assistant director, and then the two, like the siblings, the two actors that were playing the siblings, were in the car. And so the Spencer Stevie, I almost picture him as a big brother figure for me, because like he just, like, I mean, he's 10 years older than I am, but he looks like he's 24, which is like so cool. But he was just like, he was so amazing. Michelle Principe, who was my Delilah, was so amazing. Nyla Shada Harris, who was my Keelan. Again, I had such amazing actors, and like we were really truly a family. And this solidified that. So we were on, I don't even remember what the name of the highway was, heading into Manhattan to drop off Nile, and a sinkhole happened. So we hit it. Both of my right tires popped. My rims were crushed. We started to spin out into the barrier, and I don't know, again, I feel like the Lord was watching over me. I was driving. I was able to get a handle back on the car and pull us away from that, and then we stopped. And I was just like, oh my goodness. I kind of paused for a little bit. The adrenaline, I was so hyped up on adrenaline. No one was hurt but me. I just had like bruises from when I like slammed into the side of my like the side door. I had bruises up my leg, and I had some issues walking for like the next week, but I was fine.
Thank God. Yeah.
And then no one had whiplash, because it was like a little bit of a shaky ride, but everyone was okay. And then so we try to pull up so we're not in the lane. So I'm pulling up a little bit more into just this, like, you know, where the roads branch off and they have all those like lines in the center there, and then we see 20 other cars that this happened to.
Because of the weather?
Because of the sinkhole.
The sinkhole.
It's a sinkhole, yeah. This is because of the sinkhole. And like my car's a little bit lower to the ground, so it was both of my tires. So I couldn't just replace it and move on. It was like, oh, both my tires, they're gone. So, and then the rims, like they were like shot. They were absolutely shot. Oh my God. And again, this was after spending like $6,000 on this movie. So I was rolling my window down, and I was talking to some of the people, and this guy comes up to me. He's like, yeah, did you hit that? Was that a pothole? And then someone else was like, no, that was a sinkhole. And we turned back and we see literally the ground starting to cave in. But it was 20 other cars, and then more cars are hitting it because there wasn't a lot of light, and it's like the rightmost lane. So it was.
And this was at night?
This was at night. Yeah.
Wow.
It was on a highway. On a highway. Absolutely insane, like heading into Manhattan, and this is happening to so many cars. And it's funny because my dad and we have an app where we can see like my tire pressure and like, oh, like my vehicle needs maintenance and all of that stuff, and he gets the notification that both of my right tires are at 0 tire pressure. And so my biggest thing, I was worried. I was like, oh my goodness, like I got to tell my dad that I messed up the car. No body damage. It was just like underneath and then the tires. Okay. I called my dad and I'm like, hey, and he's like, what's up? And I'm like, I think I got in an accident, and he's super calm about everything. And so he's talking to me, he's making sure I'm
That's
okay.
good.
Spencer, who's sitting next to me, he's like, yeah, you're doing such a great job. Like, I'm so proud of you. You're doing great. Like, everyone is like cheering me on, even though I'm like freaking out. It was so funny. And then I hear my mom in the back say, what? She got in an accident? What? And then my dad was like, yeah, I got the notification that both of your right tires like are at 0. So you want to tell me what happened? But yeah,
I think those would have been my parents too. I think my dad would have been like, okay. So, and my mom would have been like, what? You know, Puerto Rican from the Bronx. Yeah.
My mom is from the Bronx as well.
Oh my God. Okay. Yes.
So it was like my mom at the end, she was just like, you're fine. Like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I had to get my car towed to Long Island City, and then they gave me the bill, which was terrible.
Was it more than the budget?
No. Oh, thank gosh.
Okay.
No. Thank gosh, no.
Okay.
It was about as much as I had raised from my Indiegogo page.
Wow. Okay.
But I was very, very grateful though, because my grandparents did help contribute a lot to help me pay off that. So I was very, very, very thankful. And then I had to pick up my car, and now I'm scared of potholes, but it's okay. But
do those things happen because of like sinkholes? Is that just like a bad road and like they need to renovate it?
Or I think so. I think it might be just like a mixture of the weather and infrastructure. I think like the road just like collapsed, and so, but it was,
because that doesn't happen with potholes. I mean, potholes could mess up your car a little bit, but sinkholes, that's like worse.
Sinkholes, like it was crazy. But the thing I just think is, I still, like, regardless, I feel so blessed, because at least like the worst thing that happened to me on set was that, like, that was the worst thing. And I mean, my fingers got cut up by my drone, and that wasn't too bad. Like, we had a little bit of a drone crash. It wasn't anything crazy. It just hit like a twig in it, and then it wouldn't stop spinning. So I had to reach down and
stop it.
Yep. But again, like the worst thing being the car. And again, I felt so blessed, because everything else the weekend, despite like the little things that come along with films because it's unpredictable, like everything had gone amazing. Even on the day with the blizzard, like we were super efficient, everyone was doing great,
able to adapt.
Everyone was able to adapt. Everyone still had like a super fun time on set, which was really, really cool. It was still a memorable experience for everyone. And
thank God you guys are okay.
Yeah, like that's again, like very, very much so. Like I feel very, very gracious that, like, you know what, maybe that's the universe telling me, you know what, you got to take a break. You got to take a break and just kind of relax. I remember I had texted my professor to let him know what happened. Professor George Nicholas, and he got my text.
I heard about him. Yes.
Yeah, he's so amazing. And he was like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Absolutely fine. And then I had called my professors, my Monday professors, to let them know, hey, I got in an accident. I really am shaken up. I don't know if I can come to class today. And they were so gracious. They sent me the work for that day, and I was able to catch up. So I took Monday to kind of decompress from everything. But yeah, like despite that crazy thing happening at the very end, it was still such a rewarding experience. But it just goes to show, like, you got to be careful about everything that's happening on set. Like, it's especially like with COVID, like we were very fortunate to get our COVID compliance officer, our CCO training through the school, where we can be COVID compliance officers on set. And I know like they're starting to remove masks for indoor mask mandates, but on film sets, it's still like you need to wear a mask. Regardless, like I'm fully vaccinated and I'm boosted. Regardless, you still need to wear a mask, because they just want to make sure that we're all protected.
Right. And you never know. And I think that's so important that you had your family there helping you, supporting you, feeding everybody.
Yes.
And you had such a good cast and crew. Because I think, you know, while it is a lot of work and it can be stressful, you don't want to work with people. Like I spoke about this with Nick, and a lot of times on the podcast, you don't want to work with people that you don't like, or, you know, are a-holes. You know, you want to work with your friends, you want to work with your friends and your
like your
family.
close colleagues, like people that you know are going to perform well. Like, again, like I had provided that list, like a handpicked list of like, these are the people that I want to work with. And then my producers went ahead and they went down the list and they were calling people and saying, hey, are you interested? Would you want to do this? And then if people were available, they said yes. If they weren't, they said no. But yeah, being able to like handpick a crew of people it's so important, because again, like if you have a situation where you need to skeleton crew it a day because either someone gets COVID or you have to send everyone home for the weather, or something happens and a car breaks down, they can't get to set, you want to make sure you still have a tight-knit group of people that can still like almost make up for the rest of the group, if that makes sense.
Yes, you know, and you want them to have the talent, you want them to have that work ethic,
Yeah.
but also alleviate, you know, some of the pressures or stresses that come with film production or TV production, which is being compassionate, being a nice, genuine person,
Yes.
you know, and maybe willing to do a job that is not yours.
Absolutely.
You know, maybe the AD has some camera skills and then,
Yeah.
you know, they help with that, you know, so being interchangeable and like, oh, that's not my job, I'm not going to do that. No, let's all help each other out. We're all a team. You know, I think TV and film, it's kind of like we're a sports team. We help each other out. We have our own roles, but we help each other out as well.
Absolutely.
In the April 2021 Variety magazine issue, you received a mention for your film Where the Horizon Lies. How excited were you when you found out about this?
So this is really embarrassing to admit. I was in the parking lot of a McDonald's when I found out.
Wow.
I wanted a 4-piece chicken McNugget, just had a taste for it.
Yes.
And then David Henney, he had asked for photos of my film, because again, we were the first people to shoot. And then I had Tiana Van Rossum, she did all of our BTS photos, which looks so amazing. And then all of our promotional footage as well. She had sent over the photos, and so I forwarded them to David, and he was like, yeah, like we're going to submit them to be in this magazine. And it didn't click that it was Variety magazine. And so he was like, yeah, like here's the Variety clip, and he emails it to me, and I'm like, wait a second. And so I click it, and like, yeah, you know, maybe it was a picture of Madison when she was checking the shot for like continuity, and it's such a great photo of her. Like she looks so amazing. So professional.
I wonder if it's in the School of Comm. I think I know which picture you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like it's one where like she's leaning down, and like it's kind of like orange, we're in the cabin, and then she's just checking in one of the area Alexas.
Okay, yes.
But it's like, oh, like continuity and script supervisor Madison Moore, Spence Moore checks the shot on Nerys Muller's senior thesis film Where the Horizon Lies, and it's got this little like blurb and in Variety, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like what?
That's insane.
Heck? I still haven't processed it fully. I have like I have people that like I have it on my website because I'm like, oh, like this is a cool achievement, you can click on it and it takes you to the link, but I still like people are like, oh yeah, I saw your Variety mention, and I'm like and I'm like, oh wait, yeah. No,
like the Variety.
The Variety. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful, and that comes to like everything that I'm grateful for everything the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication has afforded me in terms of opportunities that I wouldn't necessarily get at other schools because of potentially like my ethnicity, my skin color, lots of other things, me being a woman. Like it's being able to have that and to be so like acknowledged, and like my classmates being happy for me, my peers, other peers, professors mentioning it, being so supportive and so happy and so joyful that this happened. It's definitely something that I cannot even begin to fathom my gratitude for.
No, like I'm so proud of you. Like as a Herbert School student, as a current Herbert School student, a Black and Latino Herbert School student, looking at another Hofstra alum, it's amazing to see, because it's like, oh, like if she can do it, why can't I? You know,
You're gonna make me cry.
No, but it's so true, because you know, I told Nick, I was like, I'm proud of him too, but I think it hits different when someone is a part of your community. you
Yeah.
know, and walked in your shoes at some point and has
Mhm.
graduated, and it still works with Hofstra, still doing amazing
Yeah.
things. So it's so nice to see, because you know, if Nick can do it, why can't I? If Neryss can do it, why can't I? So I always think that, and I hope people listening who are interested in film, young Black aspiring filmmakers, or anybody, they are inspired too by your work, and who go to Hofstra, because you know, it's one thing to learn it in the classroom, and then to take it outside of the classroom, put your own spin on it, make
Mhm.
it relevant, have a message, and continue to make great work and be recognized, and be mentioned by such a notable and respected magazine and company, is amazing, you know, at such a young age. So that's amazing. So there's Issa Rae, Ava DuVernay, Regina King, and the list goes on. Which Black woman filmmaker, writer, or director inspires you?
Add Shonda Rhimes to that list, and there you go.
Yes,
Literally,
yes.
literally everyone that you just mentioned.
Okay.
I'll speak particularly to Ava DuVernay because she was the one that I was introduced to initially. I saw Selma at a pretty young age, and it was just something hit different because it was a movie, the first movie, might I add, that was about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life. And the fact that it was made just recently struck a chord with me.
2014.
Like
Yeah.
2014, that really, really struck a chord with me. But Ava DuVernay, like, she's created Array, and Array is this whole, again, this production multimedia collective for diverse voices. And like I look up to that a lot, like in terms of how like I'm modeling book too, like trying to create that collective, create these opportunities for other people that otherwise wouldn't. And she's such a role model. I want to meet her so badly and just say thank you.
It's gonna
Because
happen.
if it's
Gonna
a
happen.
manifest. Because if it wasn't for people like her, or like Issa Rae, who pins herself for being this awkward, nerdy Black woman who is proud of who she is. Like, again, that's me. Like, I'm literally named after a Star Trek character. I'm such a big nerd. If you see up there, my Minecraft sword is right there.
Oh
Like,
my god.
I'm, I'm such a geek, and I'm so proud to be a geek, and I'm so proud to be like in all of these fandoms and everything, and like people like Issa Rae that are saying, hey, you know, we don't see a lot of Black women or Black people in these different fandoms, and it's okay, you can be awkward, like where we see Insecure at HBO.
Yes,
And like
yes.
I look up to these people who have paved the way for people like me to be able to create, because God forbid I was born 50 years prior, I wouldn't have been able to vote even. So it's just, it's insane to think about that. And also, even that 50, 60 years isn't even that long ago.
No.
So these people, what they've created, the stories they've told, and how like fantastical they are. Like, one of my favorite books too is A Wrinkle in Time. I've always loved it. And then when I heard Ava DuVernay was directing A Wrinkle in Time with Storm Reed when she was little, like
Such a good film.
it was such a good movie. It was such a feel good movie too. And it was, when I watched it, it was everything that I imagined the book to be. And what was even cooler is that she's not casting via color, she's blind casting, so you can be this character if you're this. It reminds me very much like Brandy and Cinderella,
Just
and
about to
how,
say that. I was
yes,
just about to say that. Yes.
yeah, and how like it doesn't matter what you look like, it's just the caliber of your acting, it's what you can bring to the role. And there's something that's so beautiful about that. And even like when it comes to theater, because something I struggled with in theater when I was younger is people would say, oh, well, you have this beautiful voice, you're a great dancer, you're a great actress, but you don't have the look. So it was,
And
and I
what does
remember
that
like,
mean?
yeah, it's like, again, in 2022, we're like, what? But like in 2010, 2013,
We
people
weren't
were,
having these conversations.
yeah. And it was just like, I didn't have my big like theater step forward until I got to play, we did Sister Act at my high school. We did, and so I got to be Whoopi's character, Dolores Van Cartier.
Okay,
Like,
okay. Another film I need to watch, but I definitely
it's,
know of.
oh my goodness, you'd love it. You'd love it. It is
I need like a
everything
film
and
playlist.
more.
I'm always asking people for song playlists. I need like a film like playlist.
I'll type something up and I'll send it over to you.
Yes.
But like, it's like Sister Act, like it was one of my favorite movies growing up as a child. My mom and I got into it. We loved Back in the Habit, the second one, because it's just as good.
Okay.
And then you have Marquise Houston from Sister, who's in there too, who's singing, and he's so
Oh, I didn't
good.
know that. Okay.
But oh, I'm trying to think with that, like I remember I had people in my school come up to me and say, hey, I didn't know that a person of color or like a black girl could sing like that or could be a lead. Now I want to audition. And it's sort of like, I feel that same thing looking up to like Issa Rae and Ava DuVernay and Shonda Rhimes, Regina King, all of these people that have come before me. It's like, you didn't know it was possible until you see other people doing it. And there's something so magical about that.
I love that. I love that answer. And I think, Ava DuVernay, she gives you a lot of different content, kind of like you do. And all these Black women, they're so multifaceted within themselves and in their projects. Like, you have the 13th, you have Selma, but you also have A Wrinkle in Time. And I think that's so good that she gives you feel-good projects, but also serious, relevant, historical projects that people may not know about and need to know about.
Absolutely.
And I love that. And I think you're probably going to go in that direction too, where you might make feel-good, movies, maybe Disney movies, but you also make movies that maybe are fantasy and horror or whatever the case may be, but have a message and relates to the current theme or a theme that, applies to 50 years ago and now, kind of like racism.
Yeah.
So I think that's so important, because I think let's have both. We need the serious content, but I think as Black people, sometimes we see too much of maybe police brutality, too much of some trauma, that we need to, turn off the TV and put on something good.
Yeah.
A film that makes us feel good. So for sure. Switching gears to the TCP rapid fire question is, what makes you laugh the most?
All right. So I have one is very niche.
Okay.
And one is very wholesome. I'll start with the wholesome one. I love when animals sneeze.
I love that.
I have 2 Yorkie Terrier Chihuahua mixes. I have little Daisy May, and then I have Colette, who we just got Colette in August. When they sneeze, it is the funniest thing ever, because it's like they're holding it in and they look like this, and then they're about to go, they're like, that's how they sneeze, and it's the cutest thing.
It's like so
it's
aggressive.
So wholesome. It's so aggressive, but it's so wholesome, and it's so tiny and so high pitched, and I don't know, I just think it's so sweet. And then the other niche thing I love, so I love Skyrim. I love Skyrim. I love World of Warcraft. Like, I grew up in those fandoms, and then recently I was like, I'm gonna get Skyrim for my Switch and relive the glory days. But I love those videos where people are making fun of what they're saying. Like, there's this one line where someone's like, I used to be like that one day, and then I took an arrow to the knee, like that. Like, it's just, I just hear people, like, if they use that in like average conversation or any sort of like video game line, but they don't like try to draw attention to it. I just think it's the funniest thing ever.
I love that. Just bring it into daily conversation.
Yes. Like, or even like, it's like, I'm also a huge fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender. That like shaped my childhood.
So
people
good.
that learn how to work like Iroh quotes into their average life, like, it's like, it just cracks me up.
The wit that takes,
yes,
the intelligence. Yes.
Yeah.
3 things you're grateful for.
My parents. I know everyone will say they have the greatest parents in the world, but I actually have the most amazing parents in the world. A lot of things that happen, like we've always been viewed as a very estranged part of things, because we are an interracial family and we're proud of it. My dad is white and my mom is Black, and it's something that we have always leaned on each other for, and there has always been endless support and endless love that as a teenager I didn't appreciate, but now as a 22-year-old, almost 23, it's something I look back on and I'm like, wow, I appreciate that. My mom was very, very, like, she would get on me about making sure I'm not being self-destructive in my behaviors or being self-deprecating, making sure that I know my worth, I know my passion, I know my love, and that I'm giving myself credit for my talents, because I used to be very, very bad about that. I was so insecure. Really? And I wouldn't acknowledge, like, I wouldn't acknowledge talent. I wouldn't acknowledge my success. And I'm still working on that, because I am always trying to do better and I'm trying to outdo myself. But in doing so, I need to take the time to remember, hey, look at the achievements that I've done. And so both of my parents have always been instilling that in me and been working with me to make sure that I can do that. Endless love. Anytime that I need to take a break because I'm burned out, I have their full support. They have always been proud of me. And my dad, I know, because my dad does this thing where like he puffs his chest out, and that's how I know like I've got like the Glenn Muller seal of approval.
Yes.
But yeah, no, they have been the most amazing. Next, I would say these are just all people, I think.
I love that.
I'm gonna tie these. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna say my Nana. My Nana, my mom's mom, she passed away in 2015 from cancer, unfortunately. But she was like my second mother. She helped raise me. She lived with us, and she instilled my love of movies in me, like classic movies. We would watch everything all the time. Again, like we're talking Bette Davis's movies, and again, like Vivian Lee's movies, like all of those classic loves, like that is what she introduced me to. And I am very, very sad, and I get sad sometimes that she didn't get a chance to see me sort of step into this world, because I know she would have loved it, but I know she's looking down on me. And she always instilled to me, do what you love always. And that's what matters most in life. So I'm very, very grateful for her. And then lastly, I would say I'm a very, very proud Hofstra alum. I will scream it into the heavens. I'd scream it right now, but like my throat hurts a little bit, so I need some water. But I'm very, very proud to be a Hofstra alum. So my entire network, everyone that I have met at Hofstra, like if I'm talking specifically professors, Dr. Peter Gershon, who was literally he was literally my father away from home. And he is one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. Along with him, David Henney, Dean Lukashevitz, Dean Adrian Marlowe, Professor Nicole Franklin. I don't think she's there anymore, but Nicole Franklin, Christine Noskesi, George Nicholas, Bill Jennings, who always told me that, like, listen, be you, write what you know, be like, your creativity is what matters. That's something I had an issue with. Is when I was younger, in like my formative years in college, I thought, oh, well, you know, I need to write what people want to watch. No, I need to write what I want to write, and I need to make what I want to make. And so that's something they instilled in me. The network of professionals that I met through there are some of my closest friends. I was very, very fortunate to meet my partner, Justin Moore, there. And
same with Nick. Crazy to me.
It was just like, it's like he and I were also the same major too. So like we were getting through Hofstra together, which was really, really fun. And we were into a lot of the same things, but it was really cool that I was able to meet him there, been able to work with him. And again, like some of my closest friends that I've met at Hofstra as well. I'm super, super grateful. I'm super grateful for all of the opportunities that the Herbert School has afforded me. I'm like, again, as a woman of color, I'm super blessed that when the call to action for diversity and inclusion was needed, they let myself and then one of my peers sort of take lead and try to get something off the ground about the importance of not making it tokenism, but making it something long lasting. So that's something that I'm very appreciative of. I'm appreciative that I was given a platform, platform for people to almost in a sense kind of look up to me and see, well, you know, if like you were mentioning earlier, like being able to see other Hofstra alums, because there weren't a lot of Hofstra alums that looked like me that I met while I was in Hofstra. I met them after the fact. Like I met Erica Mann, who I met her out in LA. She's working over at Amazon. And I met Desmond Jackson, like all these film buffs from Hofstra, from alumni. And like just people, again, this network of people that I'm able to reach out to, say hi to, share ideas with. And for that, I'm so beyond grateful.
What would you tell your younger self?
Ooh. What would I tell my younger self? It's okay to take a break. It's okay to set up boundaries. Don't be reactive if people have negative reactions to your boundaries. Those are the boundaries you have set. Remain true to yourself. And lastly, you are worth more than you could ever possibly know.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
This is hard. Okay. Completing my master's.
Yes.
Hopefully that's either going to happen at the end of this year or this time next year in 2023. So I'll have a master's degree. I'll be the first person in my family to go this far, which is really cool.
That's amazing.
I'm trying to think what else. So with a master's degree, number one,
Yes.
definitely after going on the Hofstra in LA trip, I do see myself out there, which is hard because I love my family and like I get a little bit of anxiety when I'm like hours and hours away from them, just because like God forbid something were to happen. But I know they have been very supportive of, hey, like if this is what you want to do, then go. I don't want to go until I have my master's. So I think that's something that I'm actually going to start considering in the next couple, probably in the next year or so.
Wow.
Going out there. The next 5 years, I do see myself starting to work either more in post-production as I am right now with AMC, either acquiring an assistant editor position or an editing like supervisor position, and sort of building my way up from working in post to being a director, because that's often the track that people do take. So in the next 5 years, lastly, I do see myself becoming part of a union after putting in so many hours. So
yes.
I'm trying to achieve that union status.
Yes.
So that way I can get even more gigs and work for more prevalent productions as well.
And my last TTP rapid fire question, what would you name this current chapter of your life?
Perseverance never looked so good.
Yes.
Chapter 22.
Love that. It's kind of like that quote, nevertheless, she persisted.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
It reminds me a lot of like my entrance essay to Hofstra. We had to write about a time where we failed and what we learned from that. So I had written about my time trying to achieve my Girl Scout Gold Award and how I had several ideas that I had to can before finally getting to the one that earned me the award in the first place. So I had talked about all of the different things that had happened in my essay letter, and then I ended it. I can't speak. I ended it with that quote that says something along the lines of, if opportunity fails to knock, build a door, which I don't really like. Okay. So I changed it and I said, if opportunity fails to knock, kick down the damn door. That's what I ended. That was my college entrance essay, and it got me in, which is so great. But yeah, that's also something I live by too, with the idea of like persevering. Like perseverance never looked so good. Like I'll tell you, 3 months ago, I was very, very down on myself. I felt like I wasn't going to get a job. I had gotten rejected by so many offers. I was working several other jobs just to be able to like pull in certain things and pull in money to be able to fund my company. But now again, I'm looking at all those things that are attributing to my life right now, and I'm realizing that's my journey. Why am I getting down on myself? Like, this is me persevering. Like, it's a hard market right now to get a job. It's very, very hard. I know people that graduated a year before me that just got hired and have been working freelance, and you know what, that's their journey, and that's something they should be proud of because they got to that point. And that's how I'm looking at it now too, because I was able to get to this point and I'm still going places. So it's definitely like perseverance. That's the meat of the story.
yes. And during those tough times, you know, you will get through it. You know, you have your faith, you have your support system, and you know, a lot of times, you know, as creators, you know, we turn our pain into our work, into our art. So you may find a story within this, you know, and you did, and you have, because you're working on a film, Mariposa. So it's, you know, it's all full circle, and I love that. And I think, and even if you don't turn it into art, maybe it could just be journaling or venting or going to therapy. So there's many different ways to, you know, use that pain for something good and something constructive. And even if it's just for your own reflection, for sure.
Definitely.
for sure. Thank you so much, Nerys, for joining me on the podcast. It was so nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too. Thank you so much for having
Yeah, so
me.
you can follow Nerys on Instagram at Nerys Muller. Check out all of Nerys' production company's work at www.book2productions.com. Be sure to leave a rating for the Cervantes podcast on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Cervantes Podcast YouTube channel and click the notification bell up top so you never miss a new episode. Thanks for listening. Bye, guys.